topic today, lead generation, lead conversion. First question, how many on the panel work a specific geographic area? You would call yourself a farmer. Anyone? Jeffrey, where's your farm?
Bel Air.
And how many homes?
About 600 that I knock that we really focus on.
600 homes.
Right.
What price range?
3 million average.
And you're knocking how often?
Twice a week.
That's okay.
Twice a week.
All right, so you're knocking twice a week, so how many times do you get to the door in a year?
Well, every time it's 1 hour, 40 doors, 12 contacts.
Right, but how many times do you get to that same door in 1 year?
Usually every 4 or 5 months. Something new I've been doing is, instead of just rotating, if I know I didn't get them last time, I'll just stop on the way to the next part I'm going to, so I'm trying to hit them more often.
So you're going to see someone 2 to 3 times a year? Or?
Easily.
All right. And is there anything else you're doing in that farm specifically?
We are doing, as Peter has instructed, we're doing a lot of the Facebook ads now and backing off of the postcards.
Thanks to me, man.
Exactly.
Right.
It's really, that's great. And we still do a specific letter that we mail out introducing listings.
So you mail postcards how often?
The postcards we've just started backing off on. So we were doing it every 3 weeks for several years. And after it being almost worthless, we decided to stop and switch that money to Facebook. And then also, I couldn't believe how many years I've been knocking and not leaving more than just a letter at the door. So now we're leaving, notepads with our logos and things, and I'm spending that money on stuff that I can leave that may end up sitting on their counter.
All right, and how are you trying to use social media to farm?
Every Tuesday, I do videos from brokers' caravans. And that goes on Instagram and Facebook, so trying to get exposure that way. We're doing the focused ads. So we've decided that we know where a lot of our buyers come from that buy in Bel Air. So that's the Facebook farm that we're targeting, our Bel Air listings. And then the second thing we're doing is just focusing on 90077 separately. So 2 different campaigns, one to get the people that are hopefully going to come buy in Bel Air, and the other one for the people that live in Bel Air.
And what kind of ad do you run on Facebook?
Nadia, can you take over now?
Is it a property ad? Is it
for
a static ad? Is it a video?
It's our listings. It's our listings.
Okay.
And then it's all of our content. So different videos and blogs, our newsletter. We rotate through. Marissa, our assistant, and Nadia are in charge of all that, but we rotate through whatever content we have at the time.
And how much attention does your farm get versus everything else?
It's probably, we love representing buyers. We do a lot of buyers. And then, of course, like everybody, we follow our clients. So still, our farm is probably only about 35% of our business.
Great. All right, who else is a farmer? Scott and Janice. You ready, Janice? No, you're coming on.
I door knock twice a week. He does 4 days a week. So, yeah.
No, so where's your farm?
North of Wilshire.
And how big is it?
Santa Monica, north of Wilshire, about 2,500 single-family homes.
Come on, man, you're a singer.
Let's go, man. 2,500 single-family homes.
All right, 2,500 homes.
Yep.
And what is your goal in the farm?
We want to create and gain market share in that area.
All right, so how many times are you trying to get to the door in a year?
Twice a year.
Get to the door twice a year.
Twice a year.
What else are you doing to penetrate that farm?
Same thing as Jeffrey. Social media. We stop the cards and all that. We're
no postcards?
No postcards. Not anymore. As of last year.
Any print advertising?
No pads. We leave them at the door.
Okay. I mean, are you doing any print in the paper anymore?
Nope, none.
Zero?
Zero.
So what are you doing specifically on social media?
Videos of our listings, also videos of us as a team to brand our team. And so we're really, really just trying to target.
And are you doing the targeted ads on Facebook?
Targeted ads. Yep.
And do you have a budget, or how do you do it?
Not yet. We're still trying to figure that out. So we're doing some testing right now.
And so when you run an ad, what do you spend typically?
$200 to $500.
And how long do you run it for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yep.
And any idea what it's doing? Are you watching your impressions and all that
honest,
stuff?
It's difficult to say this early because it's such a new format. We're trying different things every time. So what we're going for is engagement. We're trying to see, instead of likes, we're trying to get people to comment on it more so we can create that engagement and we can get in there and comment back. So we just did one in Westchester, actually, where we got a ton of engagement, where we asked some great questions, versus it just being kind of boring and plain and just people liking it. So we're trying to gauge it that way.
All right, so you're door knocking, you're trying to get to the 2,500 homes, you're trying to get to them at least 2 times a year. You stop the mailing, not doing any print ads,
Nope.
leaving a little more swag at the door,
Yep.
and doing social media.
Yep.
Anything else to the farm?
Anything else you can think of for the farm?
Do you do any calling into the farm? When you knock on doors, do you gather any information and put it into a database?
Yes, always, always, always. We have a sheet that we created where we take detailed notes of every single home that we knock. What we left, the day we were there, if it was vacant or if they're doing work on it, and then if we see any signs or suspects, we'll call them, then we put them in a database and we put them on a drip campaign where we will mail then if it's under construction or if they've got some gardeners going in and ripping out the yard and it looks like they're preparing it for the market or they're building it, we will then take that next step and put them.
And how many people do you have on that drip program?
I'd say probably 150 right now.
How many?
About 150.
150. And they're getting contacted how often?
About once a month.
Mail?
And we are mailing them, yes, because
Mail?
that's the only other way we can get them.
Email?
Yes, if we get their email while we're door knocking, yes.
Any other way of trying to contact them?
We kind of try to hang out in our area too. So we meet people and we'll see people and then, people, oh, we saw your notepad or we saw your listing or whatever.
Okay. And do you get a phone number at the door? Do you get an email address at the door?
It's a case by case. We try. We definitely try to get that. But what we're looking for is to build the relationship. And so it's kind of like, whoa. Trying to build a relationship. We're thinking long term. So we're going to be back. They're going to see our listings. They're going to see that we were cool at the door. We weren't too pushy. We were kind of that perfect balance. So we're just thinking long term. But the goal obviously is to get in front of them and get their contact information, yes.
Great. Are you getting contact information?
Well, it's funny. All the years of door knocking. I mean, Steve made me start door knocking in 2001. After a year, I called him up with total confidence, and I said, Steve, I think I don't need to do this anymore. It's not working. He listened very empathetically, and then he said, keep knocking. Thank God I listened to him because it's unbelievable how it unfolds. But what I haven't done until just recently is ask questions. And that's why we stopped the postcards. I started saying to every single person, hey, it's Jeffrey Saw, the real estate expert in the neighborhood. How you been? Oh, good. His door starts to close. Just wanted to see if you've gotten our postcards recently. Yeah. Do you remember what you liked about it? Because I want to get you information that you can really use. Actually, I throw them all away. I've never even looked at them. And I was getting that kind of answer, so consistently, because my goal was all of a sudden, I'm interrupting them in the middle of whatever they're doing. Are they really making the connection between me, guy knocking, and Nadi and I, people mailing, having listings? So now I've made sure that I do not leave that door until I've figured out the connection. Hey, have you seen our sign up, the new listing at 2580 Roscommare? Oh, that's you guys. I found that to get that connection where they at least know who I am is golden. And then I always say, would you like to be added to our email list? I'll keep you up to date on the neighborhood. And they always say, absolutely no, thank you. But that's okay.
So do you have an email list from your farm?
Well, what I have, kind of like Scott, we should be working together because we're of the same mind. In my phone, I have a contact for every street in the farm. So there's a contact called Roscommare. And then in that contact, in the notes section, I put every single address and notes about them or their house. So this woman emailed us yesterday, her name's Paris, and she said, hey, I'm at 2213. So I quickly pulled it up, and sure enough, I saw her dog's name, her husband's name, and what we had talked about. So we're going there today for a listing. But I keep detailed information. I'm a hoarder of information so that whenever I see them and recognize them or they call, I can immediately pull it up and make the connection. So that's the kind of notes we keep.
Got it. Lauren, you're a farmer. What's your area?
Baldwin Hills and View Park.
And how many homes?
In that area, there's about 5,000 homes.
And are you farming all 5,000?
Yeah, we send out 5,000 postcards a month, and we, meaning Erica Lockhart and myself.
Where's your partner? You want to
She's sitting
introduce
there.
your partner? Stand up.
Ha ha.
No. Stand up. Wave to the crowd. All right, 5,000 homes. So how do you attack that farm?
We door knock a minimum of 4.5 hours a week, 3 days a week for an hour and a half.
You door knock
4.5 hours a week, 3 days a week, an hour and a half a shot at least. Sometimes it goes a little over.
And how long have you been doing it?
Well, I've been door knocking for many years, but Erica and I partnered up in January.
Are you guys going to the door together or separately?
We do the same. Typically, we do each one side of the street.
Got
If
it.
we need to wave each other over to have a conversation, we do that.
And do you get through your farm more than once? Twice? How many times?
We will get to the doors twice in a year. That many.
All right. So you're knocking.
And we
And
send
you're-
postcards once a month.
Once a month.
To that
and
farm.
What's on your postcard?
Information of value. And I have to say that I do find that it helps when I come to the door because people recognize because they've seen the postcards. And also, we live in that area. I live in Baldwin Hills. Erica lives in View Park. And when we knock on the door, we make it clear that we're their neighbors. That's the first thing out of
Now,
our mouth.
are you mailing them? Or are you doing every door direct? What do you do?
We do every door direct. And on our door knocking flyer, we have comps on one side.
So you have you have something that you hand out.
Correct.
Oh my goodness! Did you bring it with you?
We could probably show it to you online. But on one side is comps.
Is your picture on there?
Yes.
Okay.
On one side is comps, and on the other side.
Is it in color?
Of course.
Is it small or big?
It's on the small side.
What's the weight of the paper?
It's nice paper. I go and buy special paper that's nice. It doesn't feel cheap.
And font?
It looks good.
All right.
But here's the thing. On one side, I have the information of value, the comps, and then on the other side, I have the postcard that I mailed, a copy of it. So that's changing every month when we mail the postcard, so people see, like, oh, yeah, I got this, and then they see it. And
So,
they
like,
see the
you're
comps.
really into what you hand out?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you saying at the door?
Hi, my name's Lauren Ruttenberg, and I'm a neighbor.
Is this a bad time to talk? You look.
I
you seem
don't
like you're
start
busy.
with that. I don't start with that. I usually start with the fact that I'm a neighbor. And I find that warms people up.
So talk for a second. You are really committed to your community.
Yes.
You wanna see the community thrive. You want to see prices go up. Talk about what your community means to you and how that filters into your business.
I moved there in 2009. I started selling real estate there immediately when I moved there, and I love the community that I live in. I mean, I feel like it's undervalued, and the people who live there are really cool. There's a lot of infrastructural development going on there, so not just development like people flipping homes. There's trains going in, there's malls being rebuilt, there's a whole sort of like new energy that's coming. The people who are living there and moving there are really creative. Most of them are in creative worlds and creative businesses. I run into people all the time, like from my former life in the film business and this and that. So there's this energy and this vibe that I feel that I'm a part of.
So you really feel connected to the community,
Yes.
and that's a big thing for you.
Yes.
All right. So we're knocking, we're mailing. Are you getting names, phone numbers, email addresses?
As much as possible.
And what do you do with those?
We put them into the database. We send out also a digital newsletter every 2 weeks. So those
And
people
digital
get that.
meaning email?
It's an email newsletter.
How many people get that?
Help me on that. Yeah.
So you've gotten 1,500 email addresses out of the 5,000 in your farm, or?
No. We combined it could be past clients. It can be the farm. It's a
All right, so
mix.
you don't know how many email addresses from the farm. Do you know?
No, it's a small number.
Small number. All right, so email blast. Anything else you're doing specifically to the farm? You doing any print advertising?
No. We have notepads that we give out, but no, we're not doing any print advertising.
And how big are those notepads?
They're the normal size.
Is your picture on them?
Of course.
Okay. Anything else you're doing farm-wise?
Well, no, farm-wise, no. Then, of course, we promote everything on social media, but that's
What do you do on social media?
We don't do any of these things that Peter is telling us we should do. But we have an organic...
The past filmmaker doesn't do any video.
No, I don't, and I know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. But no, we have an organic... We just promote our listings and our stuff. We have an organic following, and we get good engagement.
Hey, I have an idea. Do you ever send just listed postcards? That's like a new idea that's really working. Have you ever tried that?
I've tried it.
Stop being a prick.
I've tried it.
Then I would die.
I can handle it.
You're off the
I don't mind.
Do you do it like a just listed or a just sold?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
What does sometimes mean? It's not a regular thing?
No. You're asking if I regularly send just listed and just sold postcards.
With every listing, does a just listed postcard go out to your farm?
Not necessarily just listed, but just sold does.
Just sold does. What about you? Just listed or just sold?
Facebook.
No just listed, just sold cards?
No.
Okay.
I've noticed all the door knockers are in really good shape, so maybe that's something I should do this summer to lose some weight.
Do you consider yourself a farmer?
We have a couple of areas that we focus on, but I don't know if I'm a farmer.
So you don't think, you wouldn't say, do you focus on a geographic area?
Yes.
What are the geographic areas? Loudly.
Venice and Santa Monica.
How many homes in Venice?
I want to say 5,000.
5,000. And you knock on doors?
We do. We.
We. Who's the we? Have your team stand up. Introduce everyone. Do you know who they are?
Lorena. So when you call my office, you get Lorena. Luciana. Luciana got up a little bit slower. I don't know if she feels that she's a door knocker yet. She's a newer agent with us, and she's learning a lot today, I know. Diane Doran. Yay! Addie, who's our marketing expert. Marketing background, just joined us. And I forgot your name, sorry. Just kidding. My little Jasmine, she's my rock in Venice. She goes door knocking every day.
So how many people are knocking on your team?
All of us. Except for Luciana. She's doing head knocking.
All right, so the group goes out one time a week, 2 times a week, every day?
We get together on Mondays and we decide on the door knocking schedule. I would say 4 days a week.
4 days a week. And you all go to?
We decide on Mondays where we're going to go.
All
and
right.
Usually it's around listings that we have.
So how many times do you get around the farm in a year? Once, twice, 3 times?
About 2 times.
2 times. And are you doing any mailing into the farm?
We do. We don't do a mailing to a farm. We do a mailing to people that we know.
And how big is that list?
Maybe about 1,000.
1,000. And how often are you mailing?
Once a month.
All right. Anything else you're doing? When you go to the doors, are you trying to get names, phone numbers?
We try.
And do you have a database that you're putting those in?
We put those into our mailing list because we only send to people that we know.
So about 1,000. So you've got about 1,000 people
that we've had a conversation with, that we feel like we know these people, and if we send them a postcard, they'll know it's us.
So you're mailing, your email. You send out an email every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. on the dot. How many people get that email?
Probably about 3,000 people.
3,000. And are you doing any calling to stay in touch with people?
Absolutely.
Absolutely?
Yeah.
Who do you call? How? When?
I go through my database. There's a few ways of me doing that. I identify people I haven't talked to in a period of time, and I give them a call. I just check in with them. But these are people I know. I'm not calling people.
And are you tickled to call them, or are you looking at how do you know who to call and when?
I know. I just know.
Intuitively.
Yeah.
So you keep it in your head.
Yeah.
Great. Now, something a little different that you do how many leases in a year?
I think it's going to be over 50 this year.
Over 50 leases.
A lot of leases.
Agents hate to do leases. Why are you doing 50 leases?
Because everybody else hates it.
And what is your attitude toward leases?
Part of the business. I mean, a lot of them I don't make any money on, but it's just part of the pot.
Okay. Anything else about your farm?
You know, I think for me it's just really getting to know the community and the people that we talk to, and it's not necessarily about making a sale, it's just connecting every day.
Okay. Anyone down here? Farmer? Barbara?
Well, I'm a junior farmer.
A junior farmer. What is a junior farmer?
That means I just started our farm in January.
All right. What farm? What is it?
So it's 2 neighborhoods in Westlake Village. And
How big?
It's about 1,100 homes.
1,100 homes.
So we started, I uploaded both the farms to Top Producer, so I have every home in Top Producer.
By the way, here is an organized individual.
So we did that, and then we did 8 touches in 8 weeks. So we touched the farm once a week for 8 straight weeks.
The 8x8 program.
Correct.
And would you touch them with?
8 different touch points,
All male or different touch points?
It was a combination of door dropping and mail, both.
You knocked on doors?
Mm,
No, okay, I didn't think so.
And then, since then, once a month, they're getting either something dropped at their door or it's done by postcard. And then Heather and I are door knocking in between.
How often are you door knocking?
Not as often as we should.
So your goal is to get through your farm how many times?
Twice a year.
Okay. Anything else you're doing to your farm?
I think that's, I think that's it. We got our first listing. A neighbor called to tell us that the next door neighbor had died, and she put us in contact with their sons, and so we got that listing, so that was great.
Great. Farmers? You a farmer?
Yep.
You think you are?
I like to think so.
All right. Talk about it.
Sunset Strip and Hollywood Hills, which is where I live, single family. It's maybe 3,600 homes, and then a separate condo farm that's probably 1,700, 1,800 units.
All right, so we have single family, 3,600 homes, condos, 1,700. You still think Playa Vista's a farm or not?
Sure, yeah, maybe I do. I don't know everybody.
And how big is that farm?
That's 2,500.
2,500.
Yeah.
So about $7,000.
Last couple of years, it's been $7,000 a month. Yeah.
And what are you doing to those 7,000? Do you treat each farm the same, or you do different things?
Each farm's different, and that's been the really difficult part, is how time-consuming it is to make sure all the content is tailored specific to that farm. It's a lot of work creating.
So, are you a big mailer?
Yes, have been, but we're pulling back on the just listed. That just, hasn't seemed to be that effective. We're going to start putting more money into online.
When you say put more money into online, meaning what?
Everything Peter talked about this morning. We're thinking about just getting rid of every just listed and just go with the just sold. We're big on reviews. I think that's.
So, are you thinking about getting rid of mail altogether?
No.
Okay.
But just sold, the story, the review, and try to gather as many reviews.
So, are you sending out 7,000 pieces of mail every month?
At least. Yeah.
What would be the most you would send out?
Some farms are, twice a month. Yeah.
And why do you do that?
In the past, that has worked. I will say it's working less, but in the past 2 to 3 years, the return's been 200 to 300%. So, but when I track it, it's interesting. Most of the clients are 60 plus. So I think, obviously there's a huge portion of business that I'm missing that's not responding to the postcard, so I need to be conscious of that.
Would you say you rely on mail in terms of your farming?
I do. We're starting to do events within the farm where we try to hold an event at a listing where we invite the neighbors, and it's a really good chance to meet the neighbors, talk about the market, and then open it up as a forum. So we want to try to do more of that interactive within the neighborhood.
And you try and get on the phone how often?
Every day.
For how long?
At least 2 hours.
And is it time blocked out?
I try, 10:30 to 12:30 or so.
And who are you calling?
I break it down into 5 new leads, 5 past clients, and then 5 incubators, maybe people I've met with a year or two ago I'm following up, giving information to. So doesn't always happen, but that's the goal.
All right, so you're pretty disciplined, very disciplined in your mailing, very disciplined in your calling.
Yeah.
Anything else you're doing?
Just trying to do more interactive, event-based.
Do you have a contact management system?
No.
So any leads you generate, what happens?
I mean, they're in Google. I was on Outlook until a couple months ago, so I'm the oldest young guy you'll meet when it comes to that. But we're going to go to RealVolve. We're just in the middle of.
Someday, maybe.
Yes.
And you were mentioning you want to do more events. What does that mean?
You know, I do well on the listing presentation. You know, we talked about if all I was doing was going on listing presentations, we would do so much more. So I looked at the event as an opportunity to have multiple listing presentations at one time.
And give me an example of an event.
Before something comes on the market, we will send out either door knock or send out a piece to those owners, letting them know that it's coming. They can preview it. We've only done one, which was in a condo in a high-rise, valet park. There's food. They come in. I talk for maybe 30 minutes and then open it up and see if they have any questions about what's going on. We got a listing appointment off the first one we did. It's basically a chance for some of the neighbors to interview me, kind of like a soft interview. So we want to try to do more of that.
Great. All right, Carrie, you're a lead generating machine, right?
Yes.
And how do you do it?
Where to start?
There's just so many places.
Yeah. I would say organization with the leads is super important, but also having a mindset of abundance. So when I started my team a few years ago, I said, I want to act like I have 100 escrows at one time. I'm not going to remember their name, if the washer dryer is included, or where the 9A is. So I set everything up to act like I had 100 things going on at once, which is pretty much happening. So
meaning you wanted to have everything systematized, so nothing had to be in your head, and if something came up, you could look in the file, and there it is.
Like, I don't know street addresses, purchase prices. I just don't. But I can look it up in 5 seconds.
Great.
Because my mindset has to be on the people. So when I get a lead, they go into a 10 days of pain. And it's painful for us, but probably not for them. And what's interesting is when we get a lead and we call them and we text them and we email them, or we send them a BombBomb video or a text video.
So you get a lead, and you're going to run them through a gauntlet that you call 10 days of pain for you, not them.
No.
And what are you trying to do in that 10 days?
Make a contact, build rapport, get an appointment.
And where are these leads coming from?
Really everywhere. I do a lot of advertising.
Define everywhere.
Zillow.
What does that mean?
It means paid advertisements on Zillow.
So you're spending X number of dollars a month, 1 zip code, 2 zip codes, 10 zip codes?
2 zip codes.
2 zip codes.
And they're retargeting to other zip codes through Zillow's new targeting campaign. I don't really understand it, but it's working.
Great.
I don't want to understand it either. So yes, when the leads come in from Zillow, they can be a sign call. They can be, where else? A referral even. But sometimes referrals, you get a referral and they don't call you back. So they go into the gauntlet.
So is Zillow the biggest driver of leads for you, or?
It's starting to be because I'm starting to pay more into it. But it's mostly market share. So when people are out there seeing me or researching me, they also see me on Zillow. So a client will be looking up a property, and then they'll screenshot it and be like, oh my God, you're listing this too? They think I'm doing everything.
So your goal is you want to go out and generate as many leads as you can through as many systems as you can, and then have people who are following up on all the leads. You don't want to be following up, correct?
Well, right now, yeah, I don't have time to follow up on them anymore. So I've hired ISAs, I've hired different sorts of people, but I guess it's challenging to understand what goes into these leads as far as how much you have to massage them and make them feel good. And I mean, there's people I called for a year that picked up once maybe, and then they called me and they're like, oh, you're the last one standing. We want to write an offer on this house, and then you're in escrow. I mean, how hard was that to call them 10 times in a year? So I just feel like because I know it can happen, so trying to instill that and transfer those skills into other people is where I'm focused on.
Okay. Anything else you want to share in terms of lead generation ideas?
Relentless follow-up just in general with everything. Also, obviously, I've been doing this many years, so I have a book of business. But when people say, oh, they stole my client or whatever, once you close an escrow, they're not your client anymore. So I treat them always like I'm still seducing them and building that rapport. So they go into a campaign of anniversaries, reminders, birthdays, check-ins, market reports. So there's a system for every single person.
And everyone else is doing this also, correct? So
my CRM is life, yeah.
You're by the book.
I guess.
Right? You read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and you are just hammering it out.
I have door knock, but door knocking's not my thing.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I just like to wear heels, so it's annoying to. I'm not.
I feel
Jay does too, right? I mean,
I'm not wearing heels. It bugs me, so I'm not door knocking. Plus, I'm a little tall on heels. It's bad.
Okay.
Can't be 6'8" in heels. Bad. Transition means a whole nother thing.
We'll get to your comedy act in a second.
Sorry, Steve.
Do you spend a certain amount of time every day that's blocked out for prospecting, follow-up?
I kind of follow up just naturally. Yes, I do always time block a piece in the morning, and my reminder goes off every day that says 10 a day. But naturally, like when I see sales in buildings or I'm just out and about, like I have this natural instinct, kind of like Courtney with the roof leaking 10 years later, where I just reach out to my clients. I don't know where that, I mean, there's other things I don't do as well, but I feel so people-based when it comes to all my clients. So I'm just constantly thinking about them and not the price of the home.
Great.
That we're in escrow at.
All right, so we're going to assume most of you, the rest of you, repeat and referral business. David?
No, not necessarily repeat and referral, but social, very
all
social.
right, or social networking.
Yeah.
All right, so share a bit. What are you doing specifically?
Well, I'm very actively involved in the community. So I coach Little League. I'm on the board. I do the same thing with the school for the foundation, and so I kind of have a tremendous amount of contacts with the families in my immediate area and school district as well as the surrounding ones through that. And then from a business standpoint, the business leaders kind of in the community, I do a lot of socializing with.
All right, so you're just trying to reach out all over the place.
Yeah.
Are you getting leads in? Are you following up on those leads?
Yeah. No, so a lot of it's personal introductions through those relationships. And so my business is very relationship driven. And I do follow up on those leads, but and I follow up really socially. So I don't really have a drip mail campaign, or I really try to find things out about them personally so that I can add value, really in their life as a friend. And that's simply what I do.
You doing any mailing?
I do.
Who do you mail to?
So geographically, I mail to 4 specific communities, and they're really just quarterly. That's all I do.
How many homes?
5,000.
And quarterly, what kind of mailing?
Just quarterly update.
And are you doing any type of regular email blast?
No, I do not.
You do anything on social media?
Very little.
Okay. Anything else from a lead generation standpoint?
Zillow.
And you just started that how long ago?
6 months ago. So I committed to doing Zillow for 2 years just in my business plan. And my business is probably 90% listings. And so I wanted to, and the price point's pretty high, and I wanted to sort of fill in and generate create some more buyer leads for the future. Buyers buy, and they turn into sellers as they move up. So I focused on 2 sort of more entry-level areas to offset some of the other areas that I work. And it's been 6 months into 2 years so far, and it's been great. I mean, it's about a 400% ROI so far.
And you want to let everyone in the audience know what?
If you have anybody in Northern California, I'll be happy to help you.
Any area specifically, or just all of Northern California?
Well, I will actually help you. I got a call from a Pasadena agent 2 days ago, and they said, well, you're in Northern California. Can you help out a friend in San Rafael? That's not my area. So I introduced them to somebody there that they can move forward with. So I'm not a part of that, but I can certainly help guide. But my specific areas are Woodside, Atherton, Menlo Park, and Portola Valley, and Los Altos Hills.
And you're very familiar with the West Side in Pasadena because you worked here how many years?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Well, how do you generate business? What's your focus?
My focus has always been on very design-centric properties. So, I run the gamut from, say, Los Feliz to Malibu. But in doing so, I mail once a month, but I mail to architectural homes in general about 1,000.
So your farm is, you actually do have a farm. It's
design-centric. It's a certain style of home. It's stuff that I really like. So, early on in the business, I just didn't want to, represent 4 walls and a roof. I just had to do something that would keep me motivated for a long period. So, it was architecture and design. So I really go from Los Feliz to Malibu, but I have a heavy concentration also in the Sunset Strip on the high end. Bird Streets, 5 million and up, kind of in that realm. A little bit in Truesdale as well. And, so I mail about 1,050 and once a month, heavy Instagram, starting as of this year, as well as we do a combination of print advertising, e-blasts, and also we write to a lot of expireds as well.
All right, so you've really focused on a specific type of property.
Yes.
And will you list outside of that? Will you take listings that don't fit that?
It really just depends on what it is. If it's a house that I like and I can get behind, then absolutely. If it's not, then I help them find an agent that's better suited to represent their property.
And since you have such a focus, does the universe tend to just send you one type of opportunity, or?
I think it's because I'm specifically focused. I think it's been interesting. I've gotten a lot of opportunities because people have known me for the architectural properties, but it's also now broadened out because of our company, the agency, as the database has expanded, as the price points have expanded, and my business is kind of umbrellaed outward as well.
And you really want to list 8-digit properties, as you call them, correct?
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
So my focus is, as the years progress, my focus has always been to move up to higher price points. And, it just, by the nature of the market, we've seen, especially in our markets around here, we've seen, the high end really explode. So I've been working with Steve to, start really getting up into the 8-digit realm more frequently, and working with and it seems like all the development around here is, 8-digit minimum, 8 to, more digits. So been really targeting on that business as well.
And it's happening. You're getting more and more of those opportunities. So what would you say to anyone in the audience who wants to increase their price point? Is it mental? Is it strategy? What do you do to increase your price point?
I think it's really knowing the areas which you like working, whether it be, Brentwood, whatever, but knowing the product, knowing, what's out there at any one time, what's sold, what's available, but also being really positive. There's a lot of times in this business where things, people and situations come at you and not so great, and just remaining positive through it, to get to the other side.
And really knowing the product, that's big for you, correct?
Really knowing the product is huge, and really knowing what's coming onto the market. Also, another thing is, which clients really like, is knowing the off-market product that's available, because, where I work, the off-market sales, in some sub areas are 50% of all the sales. So if you can give your clients an edge, they'll be your clients forever, you know.
And off-market opportunities, is that a function of agent relationships? What's that? What's involved?
Off-market opportunities, definitely a function of agent relationships. You know, at the end of the day, clients come and go, buyers and sellers come and go, but, you know, my colleagues here I'm going to have to work with for many, many years. So I want to maintain the relationships with them as best as I can. And that's the most important thing, because they can, you know, again, they're key holders to certain product that, you know, they'll let you into if you're nice, but, you know, if I'm not nice, I'm not getting into.
And you, in that high-end market, which can be a little sharky, you really try and stay friends with as many people as you can.
Exactly. I mean, I work with the same, it seems like I work with the same people over and over and over and over again, and so we've got a pretty tight niche where we are, and I think that it's so important to just, you know, coexist and be friends and help each other out, because, you know, because you'll never know when you need them for something, or they'll need you.
Great. David, where do you fit into this discussion?
I'm not entirely sure. You know, as far as farming, I mean, you're talking about property. I would say I farm people more than anything else.
All right, say more about that.
So I kind of came up with a philosophy years ago where I said...
Into the mic.
All right. I came up with a philosophy years ago, and I thought, how much does a lead cost? And what I mean by that is I took into account all of the money we spend when we get a lead, and then what does it eventually turn into a sale, you know, so the ROI on that particular lead. And then I thought, you can take that same philosophy towards somebody you know who potentially could give you a lead, like an attorney, for example, and the ROI is entirely different. It's a warm lead. So if you have, my thing is 3 lunches a week. If you have 3 lunches a week, you figure $75 a lunch, looking at $1,200 a month, which is less than the cost of a postcard mailing. And thank you for your mailings. I'm in 90077, by the way. So you said...
It's on, Jeffrey. Find me,
but I am listing my house with him, so...
So you said rather than spend the money on postcards,
lunches,
I'm going to get more of a rate of return by going to lunch 3 times a week.
Lunch, events, I will throw something in my house every so often. Just being involved with the community. I also heard something many years ago. It was kind of an interesting thing that I never lost this. And they said you can work really hard to get a lead, which will turn into a sale, or you can work really hard to get a lead, which will turn into multiple sales. So I took that to heart, and so I look for people who generate multiple sales. And that's kind of my focus. I'm embarrassed to say that I am not as organized as pretty much anybody else up here. I do recently have contact management, which is incredibly helpful. But I just kind of do my thing and keep in touch with people, and it works.
How do
very
leads come to you?
Phone calls, lunches.
Are you stimulating them, or is it just years of doing business and now?
Well, I mean, I actively, expand my circle. So
what does that mean?
What that means, I knew you were going there. So what that means is I'll have a very good friend who I've developed a relationship with over the year who may be an attorney or an accountant or a business manager, and then I'll say I'd like to meet somebody else who potentially could generate business for me. And in exchange, I actually am a business generator for them. So I look at it as a mutually beneficial relationship. And I actually refer as much business as I give, sometimes more. I have a lot of people who I've seriously changed the trajectory of their career by giving them so many referrals, attorneys, accountants. And so it's not just about me, it's about the relationship. And that's been very good. I get, the other thing that's kind of interesting, going back to what Blair said, I probably get 20-25% of my business from other agents. And that's something I learned years ago. And when I've worked with other agents, I try to make them a team member, not an assistant, for example. they're involved in every process, and from that experience, they're going to learn what I do and how I do it. And as a result, I get a lot of referrals from agents. So it's probably 25% of my business.
Anything else you do lead generation-wise?
Anything else?
Are you a mailer?
Somewhat, but not often. Certainly social media, I think, is really important. I think that people who know you, and the worst source of business is people who have known you when you're not successful or when you're not an agent. So, and I've been on both sides of that. Oh my gosh, my cousin's a broker, and then I've been the cousin. So, so what I've learned is those same people can be turned if they feel you will do best for them. So you need to convince them. And a lot of times social media is a very good way of letting them know that, I am successful, I will do the best for you. Because in the end, they want the most money and the best experience. So if you can relay that that's what you do, you will be people's cousins all of a sudden.
So your mailing is infrequent?
Yes.
Is it event-driven, a sale, a new listing, or do you do any type of overall institutional?
Yeah, I mean, if I have something specific or a great victory, for example, in a neighborhood, I want everybody to know about that. So that'll be something that certainly we'll get out there and announce. But I've found mailing to be just very expensive.
Social media, are you doing anything?
Yeah. No, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to explore that. Thank you, Peter. In a much greater depth, and realize that I'm doing what I'm doing without being terribly organized and without all these processes that people up here are very successful.
Then why are you successful?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Make something up for me.
Yeah, I mean, persistency. And if you haven't seen The Founder, that's a great movie about persistency. I would say that when I got in this business, I knew what I wanted to do. I was in college. I studied to be a real estate agent, which, in the 80s, was rare. And I've always thought of it as a profession and not a hobby. And I always feel you need to do the best for your client and not for yourself. So it's about knowing the contract and having the will to do the right thing for your clients. And I think that comes back to you in the long run. And I've never thought of this as a short-term business. I see so many people look at it as a hobby where they make money. And you know what? It doesn't last. I can tell you in 28 years, it doesn't last that way. You may do well in the beginning.
So you have a $200 million listing, correct?
Yes.
What's that experience like? How is that different from anything else you do?
No. Yes. It's really not as different as you think. Obviously you've got to be very careful about everything surrounding the listing, but I don't think of it, as that much different. It's kind of funny. I used to, and just a little thing for anyone who was scared, so I used to be scared of anything over $3 million. It frightened the hell out of me. And it just took a long time to get comfortable with higher price listings. And now, it's a number, and they're just people. So, if you're consistent in what you do and how you do it, it's not that different.
What do you learn? How does having that listing make you a better real estate agent?
Better. I don't know that it makes you better. I mean, I think you need to just watch everything you do and say and how you do it. And again, it's funny. I just had a listing where we had, I'm not sure how many offers in the end, probably 20 or 22, and it was fierce, the fighting. And so many brokers came up to me and buyers and called me and found me at the office and said, listen, I'm going to give you a percentage of the commission, or you're going to represent me and I'm going to give you my listing. And I did nothing except sell that listing and represent the seller. And I find if you do the same thing, then it's not hard to remember. So I And we got an extraordinary price. We got $650 over on a 2.7 listing, so it's a big number. So, thank you. But again, it's like, had I done anything differently, the result would not have been the same. I know that, and it would have cost my client, $2.9. It would have gone all day long, and I know that, and I had the buyer. It's not going to happen. So, I don't know that in the sense of making me a better agent, but I just think that you do what you do and do it to the best of your ability and represent your client and your community and work with your broker, friends, and that's what you do.
Great. Mark and Jay, where do you fit into this discussion?
I do nothing. I do none of what all of these guys talk about. I don't farm. I don't have a contact management system. I don't direct mail. I don't do any of that, to be honest with you.
So
I
do business.
I do business. And where I get my business from, I'll start with that, is, from a young age, I had a database just in my phone, in Outlook, with people who are successful, who are richer than I am, who have rich friends. And I associate with these people, and I become, friendly with them. I know them personally. I know their lives. I know their kids. And, over the years, I built up this database. And what I personally do is I'll be driving down the street, I'll be driving down Sunset, and I'll pass a street that I know a client lives on. And I'll pick up the phone and be like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? That is how I have personally grown my business and get business. Another thing, like Alexis, was it Alexis? What she said is like, I feel like I'm a happy person. I think people like happy people. People like happy people. I walk around with a smile. It's a great day. Every day is a really good day. I think that when you're truly happy and, people feel it, it's authentic, it's infectious, people like it. People like happy people.
So you're in the hunt all the time, basically.
All the time. All day, every day.
And
I get up at 4:30
it's not an organized thing. It's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle, 100%. Yes.
Just the radar's on.
Yes.
All the time, looking for opportunity, thinking about opportunity.
Correct.
And whatever, and relying on your intuition a lot.
Yes. Just
Name
like that.
comes up. Let me go down that path.
Correct. And then kind of like what, David and Blair were saying, I do get a lot of business now from other agents in other areas who will bring me in on something, and I do the same. It's very important to, like Blair said, to get along with these guys, because these guys are who we're in business with. Like, I agree with what, Alexis, you were saying, is there's enough business for everybody out here. Play nice in the sandbox. I look at it, someone asked me, a friend of mine asked me, he goes, how many listings do you want? I want all of them. I really do. Like, that's the outlook. I want all of the listings. But I know I'm not going to get them, but that's my goal. Like, my goal is...
Tell them what your goal is. Tell them what your goal is.
My goal for this year?
No.
My goal is to be top 5 in the country. That's my goal.
Say it.
My goal is to be
Say it like you mean it.
My goal is to be top 5 in the country. I got this thing. It's embarrassing. I'll say it on a group level. I got this thing from The Real Deal, number 27, and they send me this badge. I'm like, fucking number 27. I'm not posting that. Like, I want to be top 5, and that's how that, like, and the guy emailed me again yesterday. He goes, how do you see it on your social media? I go, I'm not posting number 27, top 30. Like, sorry, I'm not doing it. I have those expectations. When I decided to start selling real estate, my goal was, sell a $5-10 million property. And I did that really quickly. And then I was like, I want to sell a $20 million property. And I did that. And, I just want to keep elevating it. And I think that surrounding yourself by people who help elevate your game help you get there.
There is a system in there somewhere.
Yes, but I can't explain it. I can't write it out. I just can't.
It's called neurosis. That's what it is.
I'm very persistent, by the way. You can ask my wife. 3 years. I was like, will you go out with me? No. Will you go out with me? No. 3 years. So I'm just persistent. I'm very persistent.
Persistence?
Yes.
Being relentless?
Being relentless. It's on my list to read. That's my next book. Yes. Always. Like, we sell real estate. Like, I went out to dinner last night. I was with some friends, and we went out to dinner, and I'm looking around, and like, you see all the city lights. There's so many houses out there, guys. And all I look at is like, I want to sell that house. I want to sell that house. I want to sell that house. You know, one of my biggest letdowns to this, you know, in my real estate career was when I started selling real estate, I wanted to sell the Playboy Mansion. I didn't fucking do it. So, you know, but
So
those are my goals.
What's next?
Whew.
Blame Blair for that.
I wouldn't mind having the buyer on Arrow that's coming up for $500 million.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind having the buyer for that one.
So these are the things that you are percolating inside.
Yes. Dream
your-
big. Think big. I
There
think
you
it's
go.
important. Think big.
Any mailings?
Nope. I do print advertising. By the way, I disagree. I'm probably the oldest young guy at this table. I promise you that. I believe in print advertising for me personally, but when I do it in a way that the people that at least are in my sphere, they see it. When the LA Times cover wrap is available, we get it, you know, 4 times a year. I have that entire thing, and that's $8-9 grand, something like that. I do it every time. I reserve it up front, and I'll tell you, it may not bring me, I don't know for sure that it brings me, like, per se, it doesn't sell that house, but I will tell you that every Saturday morning, I'll get a text message like, wow, amazing. Wow, amazing. 2 days ago, someone called me. It's like, hey, the president of my company, uber wealthy guy, is looking for a real estate agent. You know, the guy works in the Douglas Elliman building, Josh and Matt Altman. He goes, call Mark. And I had a meeting with him yesterday. You know, the people in my sphere, they all know what I do. Every single person knows what I do. I embrace what I do. I love what I do. I wake up in the morning. I love what I do. I say that, and I mean it with every being, like fiber of my being.
So when you wake up, what are you thinking about?
When I wake up, what am I thinking about?
Are you thinking about a specific lead? Are you thinking about achieving a goal? What's driving you all day long?
I'm very money motivated. I'm proud to say that. I'm very money motivated. When I wake up, the first thing I think of, and you know, I've been inconsistent with this part of my life over my working career, but the last, I don't know, several months it's been consistent. I've always woken up early, by the way. I'm a guy who's up, you know, 4:30, 4:45, pretty much every day of the week. Like, I believe it. I was trained that way. Get up, get ahead of the game. I go to the gym. The gym, by the way, network with amazing people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was the guy at 22 years old, 23 years old, 5 a.m. at Equinox with the guys who were, you know, respectively 55, 60. And, you know, they loved they loved that hustle. And I just, you know, I just think of work. I always bring real estate into conversations when I'm amongst people. How? I can't really tell you, but I do bring it into the conversation.
So you're not ashamed of being a real estate agent?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And you don't worry about intruding or imposing or coming off as being pushy or salesy or any of those things?
I don't truly feel like I come across that way. You know,
no, I'm saying many people have, you know, they're worried that then when they're in a conversation, if they bring real estate up, then somehow...
Embrace it. Embrace it. That is what we do. We're all sitting here, I'm assuming, because we're in real estate in some shape or form. Like, embrace it. That is what we do. There's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. It is a very lucrative, great career. That allows us, you know, people say you have freedom. I personally don't believe I have freedom because, you know, I'm always, you know, working. My wife will tell you, like, you know, sorry, I can't come home. I got to go show this house at 8. Why do you have to show that house? Because if I don't show it, he's going to show it. So I'm going to show it, kind of thing. So, you know, so the truth is, we're always working. And, you know, I do still take business and all, like, you know, people ask me, like, why do you have... Why are you dealing with that client that is buying $1 million house when you got this? And this is, I think some people will tell me is a flaw. But like when people hire me, they hire me. They speak to me. I'm so hands-on. I can't let go. But I truly believe that I'm a relationship guy. Like I am about the relationship. We are so lucky to have a product that most people want or need. And if you have that relationship, you're probably going to be the one.
Talking about relationship, you're Mr. Schmoozer.
He was worried about what he was going to say today, by the way. Okay.
We can tell.
Yes.
Next time, emote.
Well, our thing, Mark and I became business partners, and our thing, what we came up with was he was building a team. His focus for him is that, as you can see, he's at a very young age, has an insane work ethic, but somebody need to manage a team, okay? And so that's where I came in. We were formerly in the financial business, in the mortgage business, me for 27 years, Mark for about 15. And so what we came up with, whatever your team is, he's Tom Brady, I'm Bill Belichick. That's what we figured out. Brady needs to be throwing the touchdowns, and he does it every day from 4:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And I manage the flat tires and the broken nails and broke up with the boyfriend and all this. And then once that was put together, this, like the last month and a half, you know, Tom Brady said, hey, Bill, get out and be Rob Gronkowski. Go get some business for us until we bring somebody else in, which we'll bring in June. And so that's what I'm doing, going to my sphere of influence. You know, my very first loan came from Deborah Berman. You know, we are still best friends to this day. She's my big sister, I always say. You know, it's the relationship piece is why we get along so well. I have a Rolodex. Half of you people are wondering, what does that mean? I understand that. And I still have it on my desk with the cards on it. Thank you, Carrie. And I just spin it around, and we call it dialing for dollars. And somebody asked me what that meant. I'm like, are you kidding me? Look at this thing. There's thousands of cards here. And so that's what I do to kind of play B team to Brady here, is like, now it's my turn. I just went and saw Drew's listing on Tuesday, and when he saw me, he says, you guys are dividing and conquering. I see you're on the other side of the 405. And that's kind of our thing. He's that side of the 405, I'm this side, because this is where I live and that's where he lives. And so that's what we're doing, and we're building a team, but at the same time, I want him to be able to get up and not worry about a thing all day than to bring in deals. And that's what he does. He's amazing at it. I've never seen anybody do it like him. And my job is...
How would you describe Mark?
Crazy, neurotic like me, I guess. But, you know, he's one of these people. He'll be the ripe age at 37 on Sunday. Happy early birthday. And has this, we talk about it, like when we go on Caravan, he's playing music from my era, and he would always kid me about his mom, you know, Cheryl Noah. Some of you know her as a phenomenal escrow officer, but he has this young person with this old school work ethic. And it's an amazing thing to watch young people. And I see it with Carrie. I mean, I'm so entertained by Carrie on Instagram, I can't even tell you. If you are not following her, you need to get on it, okay? To see young people work this hard is really amazing to me. It really is, because we hear so much about millennials and all this other kind of stuff. There are some amazing people up here and out here are working amazingly hard, and they get up in the morning and they're not complaining and they're just doing their thing. And he's the biggest worker I've ever seen. And I've had a lot of people working for me.
You're a worker. You're a networker.
Right.
What's your thoughts around networking with people?
You know, my thing is that he and I do agree on it, and I've seen everybody else, and I agree with David, is we agree and get in front of people. We're not farmers, you know. We kind of farm people, you know. Like my thing was, you know, when we get in front of people, we get business. We're so fortunate. You know, I see that personality. I see Carrie's personality like that. And Mark has the same kind of personality. It's like he gets in front of people and we walk away and we go, geez, we got a contract. We were prepared to have this whole discussion, you know, but they just love this guy. And so he and I together, it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of really something that's addictive to people. It's like last night. You know, you wanted to have dinner, but I was meeting some potential clients for us. I had 2 dinners last night, okay? It is what it is, you know, folks. I mean, I know, I'm a zip code, like I care about 2 dinners. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. We got to do what we got to do to get in front of people, and it is relationships. I'm going to tell you right now, when you get face-to-face with somebody and you look at somebody and say you're going to sell their house and you're going to take care of them like he's talking about a specific client where we totally dialed them up. It really means something to us. And people see that. They either see it or they don't see it. And if you can't let somebody see that, then this is not the right business. You better be getting up in the morning and getting home when things are done.
Thank you. Austin, little different tact. You're hustling after investment deals all the time. Talk about your business.
Yeah, so I think I resonated a little bit with what Blair, David, and then Mark and Jay a little bit. My business is kind of two buckets. I have my sphere of influence, past business referrals, and I really try to take care of those people, and I do stay in touch with them. And then I have a second bucket, which is more investment and development. So,
and what does that mean exactly?
well, I decided a couple years ago, I feel like my first few years in the business, I did a lot of what I call one-off deals, and I was kind of waiting for family, friends, whoever, to reach out to me, and I would help them. And I grew pretty tired with that, and I decided that I really wanted to focus on a couple markets on the west side of town, really learn the market inside and out, and then try to establish relationships with investors and developers where I could bring opportunities to them once I really learned the market. And so I feel like on a daily basis, you asked him, like, what do you do every day when you wake up? It's like I'm constantly trying to connect properties with other people, and a lot of it is leveraging relationships with other real estate agents. I think last year half of my deals were off market, and none of them would have happened without relationships with other real estate agents. And it's even, I had a crazy deal last year that I helped somebody buy a teardown lot on the west side of town. I never ever go around other real estate agents, so this property was on the market back in 2005, and I called the real estate agent who had listed in 05, and she was like an 80-year-old woman, and I'm like, do you remember the property in Brentwood on the street? And she's like, no, I don't remember it, but I'm semi-retired, and I'll reach out to him because I want to make some money. And she literally reached out to the owner of the property, 14 years later, and we got a deal done. So yeah, and I really try to leverage my relationships with other real estate agents, and then I also try to be a little bit creative about how I find properties.
So every day you're going out there specifically to find opportunities to show to investors.
Exactly, because I feel like now I have the knowledge base that if I find an opportunity, I can right away do the math, and I can know.
So does that mean you're driving a neighborhood? Does it mean you're door knocking? Does it mean you're on the MLS? How are you identifying opportunity?
Yeah, a couple different ways. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say my farm because, first of all, I'm not very organized, and second of all, it's much smaller. But I have a farm area of about 450 homes, and so I door knock just once or twice a week. The nice part about having a smaller farm is every month I'm literally at their doorstep, so I get FaceTime every month. And I started about 18 months ago, and I think this year it's finally going to lead to some deals. But again, yeah, I feel like I told Steve this before. I got referred a client last week who said, I have a broker's license, but if you can find me, I'm looking for a new construction house in Westwood. If you can find me something, I'll use you. And I went that day and I visited a bunch of construction sites in Westwood, and it turned out that one of my friends was about to list a property in Westwood, a new construction. And we're going to write on that. So just a little thing, I just try to be creative and think out of the box about how to find different ideas.
And you also want to do higher end, you like the big numbers, correct?
Yeah.
So talk about how that factors into how you approach the business.
Well, I mean, I think if you think about it intuitively, if you develop good relationships with investors and developers, hopefully if you find them something on the front end, eventually they're going to build a house, they're going to flip it, they're going to do whatever, and they're going to list it with you on the back end. So you tend to get higher price points, and then a lot of times you're going to get two deals for one. So.
And how do you go about becoming a market expert? Is there anything you do to stay on top of the market specifically?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I really focus kind of Santa Monica, Brentwood, and, I'm embarrassed to say up until about 2 years ago, I hardly even caravanned. I mean, I would caravan one-off. If I had a client looking for something in Culver City or somewhere else, I would caravan. But now every Tuesday, caravan, know the product. I'll talk to my title officer about off-market inventory that's sold, just so I know what's going on. And then I can use that for investors, and then also if I do door knock and I have neighbors that ask, what's sold or what hasn't sold. So.
And how many hours a day do you guess that you're spending prospecting for business?
Well, in a perfect world, I would say,
in your world.
Which is very imperfect.
Am I being too hard on them?
No. My world is very imperfect and a little disorganized sometimes. But I would say 2 to 3 hours a day, but I'm the first to admit one of my big weaknesses is I get super stressed out on deals I'm working on and I micromanage. And I stress about that rather than prospecting or trying to find properties. So it's a little disjointed. If I wake up and have an open day, I'm usually 2 to 3 hours a day trying to make calls to other agents or find opportunities.
You just hired an assistant, correct?
I did. She's great.
And full-time, part-time?
Part-time. And
what shifted when you did that?
Well, I think I was able to identify one of my weaknesses is I do micromanage. I think I'm getting better at that because she can help out with stuff.
You're getting better at micromanaging or better at delegating?
I'm getting better at delegating.
Was that too hard on him?
Yeah, but I'm really lucky. I mean, I'm working with someone that she's relatively new in the business, but she's really, really smart, and she picks things up quickly. So she's not only helping with details.
She doesn't have real estate experience?
She has about 6 months of real estate experience.
Okay.
But she's amazing. She's helping me, find properties for my clients because she understands everything already, and she's a smart girl.
All right, so again, your focus every day, looking for opportunity and connecting people and property.
Exactly.
Danny, the best?
Best for last?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So where do you fit into the spectrum of this conversation?
Everywhere and nowhere, really. I mean,
all right, say more.
I mean, I think if you asked me this question last year, I would have had a different answer. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have had a different answer. 10 years ago, etc. I think that my business has been evolving constantly. I'm always tweaking it. If I say what's the main thing I do, it's farming people and getting in front of face-to-face with people every day.
How do you go to lunch? Do you get on the phone?
I'm very specific. I don't get on the phone. I'm texting, emailing, and social media to set up lunch, breakfast, dinner, coffees, drinks every day. Try to do 5 a week is usually what it comes out to, but it's that's been going on for years, and that's worked very well. And then I get in front of people, and it's just a natural conversation. And real estate always comes up, and it always comes up as who else do you know? If you keep me in mind, it's pretty basic, but it's consistent.
So you have how many? You have a people farm.
Yeah, and I also have a geo farm, but I don't hit it hard. And those farms have evolved. I mean, I started as a buyer's agent 14 years ago doing $300,000 condos in areas where I didn't even know how to get there. And it's just evolved. And now I've let go of some of those farms I did. Now I have different farms, but my main business is still sphere of influence.
And so whereas Austin's looking for opportunity every day, you're looking for opportunities to connect with?
I'm connecting with ultra high net worth families that want to live in family neighborhoods from Beverly Hills, Cheviot Hills, Little Holmby, Brentwood, Palisades, north of Montana. So that's my farm. A big circle around the 405.
Do you ever feel like you're intruding in their life when you're reaching out to them?
For a long time I did. And I felt like calling people in the morning with the do it by the book, call people at 8 in the morning. For me, that didn't feel right. But I feel like with texting and emailing, for me, it's not intruding, and people are very responsive. And once I get in front of people, that's my strength, getting in front of people and talking, connecting there. But I still do open houses a couple times a month, not always as consistent as I want to. And I still have certain farms north of Montana, Cheviot Hills, Little Holmby, but I'm not drilling mailers nonstop. My assistant.
Are you mailing at all?
I am mailing probably once a month.
To how many people?
About 1,000.
Calling, texting, emailing, social media?
My assistant, Sarah, is doing door knocking in the areas that I'm mailing.
Right.
And door knocking around all of our listings to invite people to our first open house.
Any print advertising?
Yeah, I'm doing some mailers, but a lot of our print is we just deliver flyers or have a delivery service, deliver flyers to a door, market updates, what we've sold, So not a whole lot of just sold or just listed cards. I've done that in the past. Hard to say. It's always hard to quantify all this stuff, so I sort of diversify and do a lot of everything. But I've never been able to just quantify, I got a call from a card and I got a listing. But if I've been mailing and open housing and et cetera, over many years, you never know what made that person call. It's all these things put together.
Any other thoughts around lead generation?
It doesn't matter what you do, it's just do something. That's my big thing. I got caught up for years on, what am I not calling? I'm supposed to call at 7 in the morning. And, look, I wake up, I have 3 kids, 6 and under, and it's like a fucking circus. And this, you talk to me about meditating and this and that. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to meditate. I wish. I'm having a nervous breakdown by 8 a.m., really. So I do what I have to do, but I was like, you got to do something, right? Get in front of people anyway. And I always tell my assistant's been really good. I'm like, look, just remind me to prospect. That's her job. Just remind. I don't care about. Don't want her picking up my phones. Don't want her doing paperwork. We have a TC. Her job is basically to be another you. Just remind me, contact people, email me, be annoying. Do that. And for me, it's like it could be from 5 a.m. when the first kid wakes up, and it could be the noon that I'm just sending out an email. Hey, let's get lunch. Hey, and sometimes it's in the afternoon because I had a meltdown and I had to go pick a sick kid up at school. And if my assistant pings me like, have you called these 10 people? I'm like, no, fuck. Boom. But I could set up 3 appointments, waiting for kids to come out of preschool, and now I have lunches for next week. And I do that consistently for years and years and years. And, now once you have kids, I'm not farming, but I'm constantly having dinners and events at schools and Little League and all that. The natural evolution of once you start a family, which is a whole other thing. But so I prospected very different when I was single. It was more going out, clubs, bars, different. But I'd say it's
bars to preschool.
Yeah, it's a very different vibe for sure. But
shots of tequila in a baby bottle.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to put some shots of tequila in the bottle and get them to sleep so I can sleep. I'll say one little thing, one little tip. I always joke with Santiago every time he comes here. I'm like, you're going to tell him the secret. And he's like, yeah, the secret. Like, what's the secret? Well, the secret is get up earlier than everyone else, stay up later than everyone else, work harder than everyone. That's the secret. There's no silver bullet. But one thing that I've discovered, and a lot through mellowing out and having a family, my wife has sort of taught me that you got to take time off. And that, like yesterday, I've been burnt out. Some rough deals yesterday. We just went for the day, 6 hours to Santa Barbara. Whatever it is for you, whether it's taking a day off, whether it's going to play golf, whether it's knitting, reading a book, whatever it is, you need to reset. And it could even be 4 hours, it could be 8 hours, it could be 4 days. I find when we go on vacation, it's like my phone's ringing. So now I'm like, let's just plan vacations because I'll get a listing on vacation rather than sitting there stressing out like, I'm so stressed out. When's the next deal happening? But I think that's a huge thing. It took a while to learn because you don't want to let go of working 24/7 and losing a deal. But you have to learn how to let go and recharge. Otherwise, you're just not going to come off and not have the energy to do what we need to do. And the other thing that I learned from David Offer, who was my mentor, it's like you got to have your steel cup on every morning.
Say it again?
You have to have your steel cup on every morning because you are going to get kicked. So if it's not on, you're in trouble. So have it on, just be prepared because that's what we do. It's going to happen. So take a vacation, steel cup, good night.
How many years in the business?
We started in 2001. 16.
Listing agent, buyer's agent, both?
Both.
Assistant?
Yes.
Full-time, part-time?
Full-time.
Great. Danny, how many years in the business?
15.
15. Listing agent, buyer agent, both?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Both, 50-50.
50-50? And you have a full-time?
Full-time assistant, though, only over the last 6 months. I've gotten away with part-time assistants and then having another agent, a junior agent, helping me in a virtual TC. I've gotten away with that setup for probably many more years than I should have, and that was part of what we've worked on. It's held me back because I got sucked into doing paperwork and doing things and just don't even realize that the focus that shifts from prospecting rather than chasing down a signature for a file or whatever issue comes up. So hiring a full-time assistant was a tough thing to do because my burn rate with 3 kids in private school is, probably close to Google's burn rate, but it's, I've done it and it's just on every level. That's been a big shift.
And how many transactions will you do this year?
I think we should hit 40.
40? How many transactions we do?
25 to 25.
Great. Austin, how many years?
Been in the business about 8 years.
And you mentioned you have a part-time assistant.
Just started. Yep.
And listings, buyers, both?
Both. I think this is the first year in my career that I have probably more listings versus buyers this year.
Great. Scott and Janice, how many years?
We started in 2004.
2004. You have a team. What's the structure?
So we have an amazing director of operations, Diana, and then we have 2 buyers agents.
Stand
really
up, Diana.
The best.
Where's
the best
Diana?
team.
Diana, right here. She's a star.
Thanks, Ash. And then 2 amazing buyers agents.
And your focus, listings, buyers, both?
Right now, we're transitioning into listings more, but we are still doing a little bit of both. So 40% listings about, right, and 60%.
And how many transactions do you think you'll do this year?
You're the numbers.
I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60. So
50 to 60? Okay, great. Lauren? Years in the business?
17.
17. It's you and Erica. Anyone else?
We have an assistant, yes, full-time.
And you focus on listings, buyers, or both?
I do both, but I do both. But I have to say at this point, I don't get it up for buyers the way I feel about listings. It has changed for me. I used to be really excited, about buyers. And I'm not saying that I'm not and that I won't work with buyers, but I don't know, if I'm being true to myself, I don't know.
Great. Deanna, how many years in the business?
15.
15. You introduced your staff before. Listings, buyers, both?
This year, I think we're really shifting more into listings, although I do enjoy working with buyers and lessors.
Okay. Carrie, how many years?
I just go with more than 10, because I don't want to sound old.
More than 10. And you have 9 assistants.
Yep.
Oh, but they're not working for you anymore.
I have a revolving door of assistants, but we're getting a good one soon. I work very quickly, and it's hard for me to be patient with people.
You and Mark would be very...
I'm like, you didn't do
wow.
10 things in 5 seconds?
Wow.
You're fired.
Wow.
But with the agency, which is one of the amazing things, is I've been able to partner with other agents on listings and buyers. So that's taken the weight of not having somebody full-time right now, which is the beautiful thing. Like Jess, Natasha, Gloria, Adrian, I all have active deals with.
And you're shifting from buyers more to... Listings, and that's stressing you out?
I have 11 active listings, and it's only me. Yeah.
So
I've got Rod Stewart.
All right, so...
It's his name. He shows all my listings.
And mentally, are you getting that place where you only want to list, or?
Yeah. Yeah, and of course I'm whining all the way every single phone call, but I'm also super pumped and happy, and I love all the craze of it all.
Great.
Yeah.
Jay, how long in the business?
27 in real estate, but residential just this year.
How many years?
3.5.
3.5.
And before that?
Yeah, before 13 years in finance, but in selling real estate, 3.5.
In the mic.
3.5 in selling real estate.
And focus, listings, buyers, both?
Both. Anyone I can help. Anyone who wants to work with me, I work with. If they're good people and, we vibe. I love listings. I don't know how many I have. I don't know how many numbers I'll do. I don't know.
You just know you want to sell them all.
I just want to sell them all. But I don't know. I don't count.
And you have a full-time person?
Yes.
And have you always had a full-time?
No.
How long did you take before you hired someone?
3 years.
3 years?
Yes, for the first 3 years, I did it all myself. I showed all my own properties. I set my own listings. I wrote my own contracts. I did my own inspections. I did it all.
Great. David, how many years in the business?
28.
28. Listings, buyers, both?
Primarily listings. I'm expanding a team, so because I'm not as good a buyer's agent, I just don't know the areas, and we cover a lot of territory. So.
And you have a full-time assistant?
Yes.
And you have 3 agents?
4 is it?
4?
Today. Yeah.
And you're really starting to?
Yeah.
That's what we're working on, growing your team?
You've done a great job.
All right.
Very quickly.
Barbara, how many years in the business?
10 years.
10 years. Listings, buyers, both?
Listings, and I have Heather, my rock star buyer's agent.
And who's your rock star?
Heather Case.
Stand up. Full-time assistant?
No assistant. We're hiring right now.
No assistant?
No.
Great. Greg, how many years?
13.
Hold on. How many transactions this year?
50.
50?
39.
39?
Ish.
50? How many transactions are you going to do this year?
We'll do 50, 60, something like that.
50, 60?
25.
25? 50? Great. Greg, how many years?
13.
13. Listings, buyers, both?
Probably 70% sellers.
Soon to be 100,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And do we have a full-time assistant?
We do. First 10 years, did everything myself. Brought on somebody 3 years ago. In transition, she's gone. I think we've got somebody new. And Daria, who's with us today,
Daria, stand up.
has been with me for about a year. And she's kind of helped me the last couple of months in transition between finding somebody new for the operations manager.
So is that person taking the job or not?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blair?
Yes.
How many years?
17,
Listings, buyers, both?
both. Probably 80% listings, 20% buyers.
And you've got Joey?
One full-time assistant and then one guy that we're kind of integrating onto my team. It's like trial by fire.
Great. David, how many years?
17.
How many transactions this year?
It was 42 last year, and we're a little behind that for this year, but may pick it up.
How many transactions?
As many as I can do.
All right. David, how many years?
17.
17. Listings, buyers, both?
This year, I'm exactly 80-20.
80, 20?
Listings, 20 buyers.
And you just said you just hired a full-time
Just
person.
hired a full-time assistant.
And you
Yeah.
have one quasi-buyer's agent or one?
No, I have I just brought someone on as well that's handling buyers and also helping with generating business. We'll co-list some properties.
Okay, great.
Stan Richmond actually is the one who hired me, who's in the room.
Lead conversion. Any wisdom you can share with the group when it comes to converting opportunity into actual business?
I feel like that's where we're getting the best. I think we almost, it feels like 100% because I basically just don't let go. One of the deals we're doing now, I met him in an open house 3 years ago. Another property we just double-sided. I met the buyer in an open house 8 months ago and stayed in touch with him and brought him to an area he had never thought of looking in, and he bought that house. So it's just constantly stay in touch. I mean, the second I finish my open houses, I have them all numbered and phone numbers, and then the next morning I immediately put them into the system, all the notes about them and what they like.
Put them into what system?
I put them into Outlook and then contactually. And then I just don't let go. I mean, I do not let go until it's done.
Do you work contactually every day?
Every day. It pops up, and I love it because I'm so ADD, and contactually is amazing because it pops up. It's like, talk to these 10 people. And I'm always like, wow, that's so weird that I haven't talked to that person in a while. Well, yeah, that's how it's programmed. You know, you put them in a bucket like long-term lead, immediate client, you know, so it naturally pops up when I need it to, and I love that. So I never miss as a result.
When those calls pop up, any resistance on your part?
No, I love it. I mean, we're in this business, because you love it. And you're really, I think what all of us share in common is we like talking to people, so I look forward to that conversation and always have opportunities in mind so I have something to say other than, hey,
So if lead comes up, you haven't spoken to him in 3 months, 6 months, what's that conversation like?
Well, the first thing I'm doing, Compass plug, is we've got this amazing thing called collections. So I create these public collections of something that I think they'll be into. So if they are intrigued by high-end homes, I'll put a collection together of all homes over 20 million. Or I'll put a collection together of their neighborhood. So I send them that link, so immediately they've got something hopefully of value. And then I always try to think like somebody else said, and by the way, man, every one of you guys have just changed my week because I'm so re-inspired listening to all you guys. Some of you I know better than others, but it's so awesome. That's the best thing about it. Really, it's like I go, yeah, and I can't wait to get out there and just do my thing now, But what was the question?
You haven't spoken to someone 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah. And the other thing, like these guys are saying, is I always want to think it's not about me. Like, how do I add value? So before I make that email or that call, they're like this one guy was really into drones way before anybody else was. So I always send him the latest on drone laws and what's going on with drones or whatever. So I'm always trying to give something of value, and then the other stuff happens naturally.
And have you always been disciplined in terms of follow-up?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of what gets measured gets done. You've helped me with that since 2001. Everything has a spreadsheet and a system. And what I like about that is when you're so dialed with your systems, then you can let it all go and just be you and show up as you, because that's what does the business. If you don't show up as the relaxed you, every emotion you have, every facial expression is nothing more than a manifestation of what's going on in here. So if you're a train wreck, you look like a train wreck, and you're probably going to get less business. But if I've got all that, and that's just how my brain works. If it's there's a great book called Getting Things Done by
David Allen.
I love that book because it's like messy desk, messy mind. So every piece of paper I get, every email I get, it immediately has a place to go, and then my mind can relax again so I can be me, and that's important for me. So everything's very systematized and measured.
So Mark. So were you listening, or
yes.
Were you thinking about
both.
Top 5?
A combination of both, if I'm being honest.
Now, you guys are similar in terms of that positive mojo.
Yes. And we have, and we both. You have 3 kids too, right? 2. Okay. Yeah, I got 3. Yeah.
And now Jeff is saying he's very organized. Do you feel organized in the same way?
I feel organized in the sense that I know what I need to do. The one thing I'm really good at is calendaring what I need to do when I need to do. If I tell someone I'm going to call them tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock my time, there's in my calendar it says call Steve Scholl 10 o'clock, with a 5-minute reminder, so it pops up on my phone. I'm very good at that. Everything else, only recently, I moved offices, so my office is actually clean. But normally there's just shit everywhere. But if I'm driving, I can call Lauren and be like, Lauren, on the right side of my desk, under the caravan, there's a yellow piece of paper. It's about halfway down, written in red ink. There's a guy's number. I need that number. So that's my organization.
Good luck, my man.
No, but the Lauren piece, if I may. So that's one of the things we did was, I hear everybody talking about assistants, and I would just say to you, William Durfee and I were talking about this earlier on this morning about building a bench, and that's one of the things when we got together, there was a group that we just kind of managed out, and I went through the process of interviewing people, and I will tell you how we got to the person we got to. I had 27 interviews, okay, 27. The reason I say that is because we don't spend enough time doing this. We just think somebody's nice, they can type, okay, they get it, they have an iPhone, they're Peter. She knows where that sticky is that's written in red underneath the bad sandwich with the Diet Coke spilled all over it. She said, yeah, I got it right here. You want the number 310? And she'll go through it. Spend the time finding good. I had 27 interviews, okay, 27. The reason I say that is because we don't spend enough time doing this. We just think somebody's nice, they can type, okay, they get it, they have an iPhone, they're Peter, they have an iPhone, everything works.
As long as they can use the Rolodex, right? They're good to go.
Spend the time finding good people. That's what I would say. And build a bench. You need a bench.
Help your sister out to the right a little, would you please?
No, it's just one of those things, because when you finally need somebody, you're already 3 months behind, you know, and it's just one of those things that you got to take the time to do it. She's like Mark. She's amazing. She needs to get out of that and find somebody that can handle that for her, and let her just get out there and throw touchdowns, because she's amazing.
Go ahead.
I'm just telling you.
The way I approach business is like anything. We run a business. If you decided you wanted to open up a restaurant, you're going to have to spend money on a lease, on a build-out, on hiring staff. You got to spend money to make money. I'm not suggesting spend what you don't have, but do it wisely. You know, like if you can't afford an assistant, talk to other people in your office and find a way to split it, or find someone, you know, find a way. Like one of the things that I think is super important is if you need help, go out and get it. You know, any way you can. If I have a situation where I don't know something, I'll go to someone who knows, who has done what I need to do and what I need to learn. I'll be like, hey, I'll give you, you know, let's split this deal, or here's a percentage I need you for this. Like, we go out, and we, like, literally, just the other day, like, I've never done a probate. My clients really wanted this house so bad. It was the easiest thing in the world. I could have done it, but I didn't know that. I called someone in the office and I said, hey, I'll give you a piece of this deal. Can you come with me to court? You know, I see a lot of people when they're starting, they hold on, they choke the deal, like, oh my God, this is the deal, like I need this money. In my experience, every deal I've choked has fallen apart. Every deal that I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a step back, I'm gonna just show up, every single one of those has closed, hands down. I mean, call it luck, call it fate, call it whatever you want, hard work, but like, I had a situation last year, an off-market deal. All the top guys that you can think of, Joyce, Jade, Kurt, I should know that name. You know, the seller said to all of us, like, I'm not giving you a listing, sell my house. I was like, okay. Like, I didn't try to push him, sign the listing. I just started hustling. I picked up the phone, called. $10.5 million sale, off-market. I was the fortunate one. So the point is, like, I just work, and like the rest comes to you.
In your mind, this is a simple business.
In my mind, this is I don't know if I would say it's simple. I would say the concept of it is...
I'm not saying easy, I'm saying
yeah.
simple. You're not trying to overcomplicate things.
No.
You're just trying to do deals. End of story.
End of story. End of
Stay out
story.
of the minutiae, do deals.
Right.
End of story, yeah.
I mean, that's...
Yeah. It's kind of
you
like...
know, I'm not saying you don't care about this, that, the other thing. What you care about, can I get somebody in escrow today?
And close that deal, yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like what that book, Grit, that we read.
Right.
You know, it's like there's a lot of stuff that goes on the back end, but yeah, it's you know, if you're showing up, if you know your stuff, I mean, my phone, I have set up with every single area of what goes active, pending, and sold. So, like, I'm seeing it. If I'm not in front of the computer, it'll pop up. Oh, 952 Alpine just, you know, recorded for just under 50 million. Like, you got to know your stuff, guys. Go see houses. I can't tell you how many people don't see houses. That's what we do. We sell houses. The pictures don't do it justice most of the time. Go see houses.
Thank you. Danny, lead conversion. Any wisdom you want to share with the group?
This is probably a weak spot for me for sure. And part of it's probably because I didn't have a full-time assistant for me, but for the most part, when I get in front of people and connect, I convert. My ratio of conversion is probably very low in terms of contacts.
So no real system?
Not really, no. But there's certainly plenty of buyer leads that if I had a buyer's agent dedicated to hustling on it, that we could have converted.
So you have some leakage?
We definitely have some leakage I've had for years on buyer's agents. And I made part of that's intentional. I'm trying to do more listings
right,
so that I can parlay my time and then leverage my time the best way possible. And you can't, it's hard to work with 30 buyers and take on 10 more. So the buyer part is probably the, convert. I've definitely have some leakage, as you say.
Great. Austin, lead conversion. What wisdom do you have to share?
Well,
are you good at it?
I think I'm much better about lead conversion than I am lead generation. Again, I've kind of focused every day on trying to make deals work and converting on deals. And the thing is, I mean, I think everybody in the panel knows this and everybody in the audience, the LA real estate market is so competitive that if you don't do your job, there's 5, 10, 15, 20 other agents that people know that will do it. And so, you know, you really got to hustle when you're out there. I mean, specifically, you know, I'm not as concerned about that with family, friends, sphere of influence, but if you do start working with investors and developers, I mean, I'm not an idiot. They work with 20 different agents, so you have to somehow...
So what makes you stand apart from those other 20?
I mean, again, I think a lot of it, like we talked about and a couple other panelists have talked about, is really leveraging relationships. I mean, that's what I try to do every day with other real estate agents.
What does leveraging relationships mean?
They help you find, you know, for example, an off-market property that you would never know about unless you knew them. And then I even had a weird situation this year where I was in a multiple offer situation with a buyer. I didn't know the agent on the other end, and the other agent, this actually shocked me. We got the deal, and he said, well, I actually looked at the last deal that you did on the MLS, and I called the agent that was on the other end of that deal to see if you were easy to work with. And so that's one of the reasons that I got the deal. And I think that kind of thing goes a long way. We have to rely on other people, you know, to help us in the business because our agents are our friends. And, you know, there's so many things out of your control in real estate, whether it's an escrow officer, a title officer, but, you know, I think you really can maximize your relationships with your partners.
You consider yourself a closer?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How would you define that?
By never forgetting that, you know, I'm in the service business. I mean, I never let go of the fact that just like my restaurant career, it's about making sure they leave happy. So I'm always just focused on their needs.
The answer is yes.
What's
the question?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you stay focused on their needs, you always get it done because it's never about the money. It's never about the other things. It's really about do you get them or not? And do they feel that, and are you staying focused on them? Every problem can be solved, and we all know there's a problem in every deal. So it's really just more about the relationship management for sure.
Right. Danny, are you a closer?
I mean, for sure. I think it's closer to find it. There's a million different reasons, but for me, it's.
Do you feel like you're?
Yeah, I feel like if there's a real buyer or seller, someone's going to be buying or selling. That's not getting away. And it's really, for me, it's about listening. The biggest part is listening and caring. But you have to listen because if you listen, you're going to get all the answers. You don't need to keep your mouth open. You just keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and you know it's going to unfold. And yeah, once it unfolds, you pounce on it, and that's that. Sometimes you have to tell buyers or sellers things they don't want to they don't want to hear. I mean, that's a big part of it. You can't just keep telling them what they want to hear, and then you're driving them around for 3 years, and then they walk into an open house and buy with someone else, and you're pissed off, and I hate those people. Well, be mad at yourself that you didn't, after 6 months, have to come to God talk and say, look, if you want to buy, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to step up. You got to have those tough conversations. Doesn't mean you have them up front and turn people off, but
great.
Got to keep that in mind.
Austin, are you a closer?
I think I am a closer, but Danny just made me think. I mean, I think my biggest weakness still, and I've gotten better at it, is figuring out if you have 10 balls in the air, who are the people that you really should be spending your time hustling and taking out, because you can waste a lot of time in this business, and I've done it for years. So I think you have to have 10 balls in the air to get 1 or 2 or 3 deals working, but you really have to figure out and prioritize who are the people that are actually going to close deals. Because if you get into escrow on properties and you work your ass off, and then people don't close, it's just it's frustrating for everybody. So,
Janice and Scott, what wisdom about lead conversion would you share?
What's up, David? I want to put David on the spot. Is that cool? You shared an awesome story last night about how you were up for a listing and it was already listed with somebody else. Do you mind sharing that? Because that was really inspiring.
We shared a lot of stories last night, and we shared a lot of wine.
Yes, we did. It was classy. I totally subscribe to that about how what you told him about it being overpriced and
I got called on a listing. It's happened a couple times, and the agent was a great agent. I mean, the place was overpriced. It was that simple. And so, in that case, instead of taking it as an opportunity, and it goes to, the point you were talking about, we're all in this together, and our clients, they will come and go. Hopefully, I think most of us in here are clients stay with us. Everybody aspires with that relationship base, but I've gotten called a couple times on listings, and I've said that the agent's a great agent, and it's the price. And so I've taken the fall. I have no agenda to get the listing necessarily, and they hear it, and so and it's come back many times. I'll get a call after the fact saying, "Hey, thanks a lot for backing me on that situation." And I wasn't doing it to necessarily, if the agent was, there are some people out there that are a little bit more scrupulous and not as ethical, and I certainly don't say anything bad about people, but there's a lot of great agents out there, and we all know that we get a lot of stuff sometimes that we take for various reasons that sometimes may not be sellable for a certain amount of time for various reasons. Those are business choices that we make. And but I think at the end, when the clients know that we are committed to helping them achieve their goal, however long it takes, that's what they want, and they want that honesty and that integrity. And so I think that translates in everything you do, including how you interface with other agents and share information. So I did it because I thought it was the right thing, and in the end, it's come back tenfold.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for that.
So you're a poker player.
I am.
How does that factor into conversion?
Listening. I mean, what do they say? 92% of our communication is unspoken. You can sit there and you can watch and learn a lot about people by listening. And people will tell you what they want. People will tell you how they play.
In poker, what do they call it? Tells?
Yeah. I mean, there's elements in poker. I mean, there's the math, and then there's the people. And, we're constantly doing that, right? When we meet people, you're determining where they operate from, how they, what drives them, and listening, and then building a rapport with that. And I think that's part of negotiating, and I think we're always negotiating, is being good at listening, and also being good at moving things forward. And so you definitely have to be prepared. You have to have a plan. You have to know your market. You have to know the houses. I think it's really important to be passionate. Like, I love real estate. I love it. And as I get older, I love it more and more. And I've had many times in my career where I lost the passion. I lost it. And but I keep coming back, and it just it's like an onion. It gets better and better as time goes on. And so it's, I think there's a lot of things in life, when you live your life, that help you with your business. And in a lot of ways, we're storytellers. And how often do we, whether we're sharing our own experiences, or like with your example of the probate, you borrowed someone else's experience. And I think that's very wise. Like, a small piece of a pie is much better than a big piece of nothing. And when you can establish yourself, I always think of establishing yourself as somebody who's collaborative, and then also who your fellow agents look to, like, hey, if I do a deal with someone, I actually want them to think, you know what, if I had to sell my house and I wasn't in the business, this is who I would hire. This is who I'd work with. This is who I trust. And I'm sure we can all attest to situations like that have come up where there's been like a divorce situation and one of you's best friends with one or the other, and it's very clear that you're not going to get the listing. So then who do you go to? And I kind of aspire to try to be that person that other agents will reach out to help with and it's not about the money. It's really about, again, moving across the finish line for everybody. So for me, poker is something that it's very internal, and it's kind of like my meditation when I have time. I haven't had time to play for, months because I'm busy, but there's a similarity with that methodology that I find in negotiation that's crucial and has helped me tremendously.
Blair, do you think of yourself as a closer?
Always.
Say more about that.
Well, I mean, I think, to close, you have to be, what all these guys have said, or a couple of these guys have said, you have to be a really good listener. Listen to what the clients want, listen to what their needs are. Two, I think you have to be incredibly knowledgeable with what you're doing. In closing in these deals, there's a strategy that comes along with it. And I kind of look down the road saying, if I do this, they're going to do this. But if I do this, they're going to do this. But if I do this, where they going to be 2 steps, 3 steps down the road in the negotiation process? And I think that you have to look into the future somewhat to be successful in what you're doing in the present. So it's not thinking what they're going to do for the short term, but thinking what they're going to do in the long term. The negotiations are really heavy here, and being persistent with and those lead conversions are key. Just staying on it, staying positive, listening, and being really, really focused. I think especially in some of the micro markets that I work in, I always say, if I'm not hustling, I've got 4 guys that are putting swords in my back to take all the business. So every morning when I get up, I just want to be positive and just stay hustling, stay honest, stay persistent, talk to a lot of people, return my emails and text messages timely, and then really just know your market that you're working in. I mean, really know, what's helped me a lot is really knowing the off-market houses. I know that some of the markets are more prevalent, than others with off-market sales, but that's what's really given me an edge in a lot of cases lately.
Great. Greg, do you consider yourself a closer?
I do.
And say more about that.
I think I'm learning to decide what I'm going to say yes to a little more. That's something I'm thinking about, because it's kind of hard to say yes to everything. Challenging clients, you have to ask yourself the time and that kind of thing. But no, I think I've been learning to, we've talked about this a lot on price, as I've moved up in price point, not trying to be right. And, and start off with this adversarial relationship where I'm right on price and the seller's wrong, because then it just never goes anywhere. So I'm trying to pull off of price a little bit and just offer more information and perspective, and that seemed, the dialogue that I have with that has seemed to work and at least kind of understand. And usually they're like, okay, this is what I want, but I understand why, and then that way it starts off a little more positive. But yeah.
What makes you a good closer?
I think what Blair said, information, just kind of offering them as much perspective and information, that's timely too. Sometimes, we'll pick a price 2 months out and then we'll reevaluate, and I'll gather a lot of data and we'll kind of go over it before we go, and just try to really give them as much information so that we make the decision together, and that it's not me trying to force a result on another individual, because that makes this business very frustrating when you're trying to create a result out of something you're going to do, so yeah.
Barbara, do you think of yourself as a closer?
No, I don't.
No? Say more.
When I hear that word, to me, I don't feel like a closer.
And I'm not talking about pushing someone to do something. If opportunity presents itself, can you convert opportunity into business?
Yes, I certainly can. Although I think people will learn from you, they'll listen to you, they'll love you, they'll buy from you, and they'll hire you if they feel understood, not understand you. So I just, that's how I try to run everything with my business.
Great. David?
Oh, sorry.
Press conference there.
Yes, I do. I love closing, actually. That's the thrill for me. And really, I think, everyone said listening 100% clearly, and I'll just say yesterday, I was up for a listing. We sit down, and I start telling her about the contract, and she looks at me and she goes, if I didn't trust you, I wouldn't hire you. She goes, and she just looked at me and she goes, just tell me where to sign. It was the shortest listing appointment I've ever had. It was like 10 minutes. I was in and out of there. So that's the important listening part. But I think you just ask. You just say, let's do this. Let's move on. And most of the time, that's all it takes.
So the thrill of the deal gets you pumped up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark?
I do think I am. I think it comes down
Not
to,
just a closer, a cleaner.
Yeah. Setting the right expectation, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, you set their expectation right. Blair said it. Everyone said it. Listen. It's so important. Listen. If I have a client who immediately I know has this unrealistic expectation, I listen. I don't go combative with them. I don't try to be right. Okay, and then I evaluate. Is it a real seller? Do they need to sell? Why do they need to sell? And then how do you approach it from there? And again, it's expectations. I try to, under-promise and over-deliver. Under-promise and over-deliver, because when you set the right expectation, they're usually happy even if they were unhappy with what they were getting as far as a price, in my experience.
Great. Jay?
Yes. Well, I'm not a cleaner like Mark, but it's kind of, we have two separate personalities. I'm kind of like the Secretary of State in the partnership. I'm the empathic one. He's very smooth, very get in there and get people assigned, and then every once in a while you kind of got to bring in the senator. And, it's one of those things where, like Mark said, completely true. My father used to say this to me, talk less, probably because he was tired of talking to me, but talk less and listen more. And generally people will tell you exactly what they're looking for, what they really want. And if you listen, like, Blair and David had said down there, it happens that the client will really tell you what they're looking for. And like we heard on the call yesterday, like Chris said, there's their what's your range? Is it 4 million and 3 million 5? Well, somebody's going to be right as long as you have a plan. And one of the things Mark always has is a plan. I get that you want the 4 million. I understand why you want it. The person down the street has it, and you think your house is painted better. I understand that. So, but let's have a plan after a certain amount of time that we then start ratcheting to a different plan that we can aggressively sell the house. So let's put some days on that, and then we'll, re-get together, and then we'll go over that plan, and we'll start doing that. And that's one of the things that's really worked for him.
Great. Carrie, you think of yourself as a closer?
Yes, 100%. I think a closer is a doer. Like Alexis had said, when there's a will, there's a way. I just don't believe in excuses. I feel like when people want to make things happen, they make it happen. When it comes to our clients, yes, listening is so important. I also think that we don't realize how scared and overwhelmed they are, even if they've bought and sold a lot. They want to make sure they're not getting scammed or the house isn't falling off a cliff. So a lot of the times, it's just walking them through and guiding them through all the things that they're scared of. And I know we call it objection handling and scripts, but really it's just knowing what to say, because it's the same thing over and over and over again. Phone call. Oh, I want to work with a listing agent. Boom, you know exactly what to say. I want to work with a friend. Boom, you know exactly what to say. I want to list high and, negotiate down. Boom, you know what to say. And you have 3 options. So I don't believe in the excuse or the story of, I don't want to learn scripts, I don't want to sound like a robot. Like, you have to know what your clients are going through and how to help them, because that's what we're here for. We're not salesmen, we're closers. We get them into the home that they want, and we do it without them, freaking out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Deanna, do you think of yourself as a closer?
Yeah, I do.
You do, huh?
I do. I also think of myself as a very creative person and a problem solver and, a therapist and all these kinds of things that I do every day. And, I can always come up with plan B and plan C and plan whatever it is, we just...
So you look at it as a problem to solve.
Total problem solver, yeah. And people are sometimes surprised by the ideas that I have, and I surprise myself. But I think that that moves us forward. I also think that as I can put the idea, into the next level, like let's say somebody is at a house, looking at a house, I come up with ideas for them. Okay, so, can you see yourself making a nice meal with your family? And this, just like moving them away from the difficulties of the deal forward into the future. And, just like thinking ahead.
Great. Lauren, are you a closer?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
When I'm working with people, buyers or sellers, I feel that I'm really good at having them open up to me and determining what their real needs are and helping them get to identifying what they need. And then once they have a need, I need blah, 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 it's really easy. You just solve that problem. You bring them the answer to the need. But the hardest part is defining the need. So that's where I feel I excel, and getting people to define their needs. I'm very bad. I don't follow up with people I met a year ago. I'm always looking at people who have a need now. This is the old performance coaching. Who's going to do something now and who has a need now? And I try to focus on that and just look for those people.
Back to the two of you. Are you guys closers?
Can we answer separately?
Yes.
That word doesn't resonate with me at all. So I don't
I
consider
understand
myself...
that has a negative connotation
Yeah.
in the sense of when opportunity presents itself, do you feel you're skilled in turning opportunity into actual business?
Yes. So it's not so much conversion. I don't think about people as conversions. I think of connecting. So we've been using a lot more of the Chris Voss strategies, so using those techniques to unpack what's in people's minds, so and staying in the question and in curiosity constantly to get our clients to the finish line.
Great. Scott?
I just try to get through the day without getting on Janice's bad side. That's pretty much it. She has hanger issues. Before I call her, I'm like, God, I hope she's eating a donut right now. Please, please, please.
When's lunch?
I know, right? Sure. It's...
The word turn you off, turn you on?
It doesn't really connect with me. I think it's about just providing a quality experience to our clients, always being there and just being brutally honest. Yes, no, good, bad, all of it. So closer doesn't really resonate with me either.
How do you turn opportunity into business?
Service, just like Jeffrey said. It's just coming from service, trying to help them out, be brutally honest. And I think people really appreciate that.
Great. All right, I'll ask a couple questions. Anyone? Stand up. Come on down here. Your name is?
Melissa Wagner. Hey, everybody. So I'm a new agent, and I'm trying to do it on my own. However, I am open to the idea of a team, and I was just curious if any of you joined a team in the beginning and then branded yourself afterwards.
So you want to know if someone started out with a team and then branched off? Yeah. Only if they were unsuccessful. Anyone start with a team and branch off?
Yeah, so I started back in 2009 at the bottom of the market, which was a little rough. And I was lucky enough to get connected with a guy that sold a lot of foreclosure properties. So my first 4 years in the business, 90 to 100% of my business really was all him, partnering with him. It was a lot of hard work, but I look back on it now and it was great because, when you're first starting in the business, it's just hard to find deals. You don't have the clientele. And if you can work on a team and go through multiple escrows and learn all the different angles and all the situations and all the fires you're going to have to deal with, I highly recommend it. I think it's great.
I would just say I was not on a team, but now that looking back, I wish I was. I think unless you have a network or the ability to start converting and doing deals right away, the best thing to do is to be an assistant to someone that's doing a lot of deals, or be on the team if you can get that gig. Even if it's limited income, it's some income. And when you're starting out, at least when I was starting out, you could go months and months and months without closing a deal. So I think it's the best experience. You learn knowledge, you get deal flow, you figure out the A through Z's of the business. It seems like that would, unless you just step in and start crushing bombs like Noah over there, that's probably what most people will do.
Jeffrey?
Most likely.
First question you have to ask yourself is why would you consider a team? Because if it's to hide from what you're afraid of, then it's a mistake. If it's because you really want to be part of something bigger and you think you're going to make that team better, then that's great. But my wife, Nadia, right there, when we started in 2001, a couple big agents came to me and said, you know, be on our team. And I was very attracted to that. And Nadia said, no, we're not doing that because you've got this. And then Steve did the same thing for me. What I love about this business is it's one of the only businesses where nobody is stopping you from being a top producer today. You can memorize the inventory. You can memorize the contracts. You can knock on doors. You can meet people. There is nothing stopping you from being amazing today. So you just really got to ask yourself, why do you want to be on a team? Because I think it's the long route to being the excellent you, unless you just want to be part of a great team. You can do it. Because I think a lot of people I see, and this is no offense to anyone in here, because everyone I've seen be introduced to seems amazing, but I think a lot of people, it's kind of like when you switch companies, right? Hey, should I join your company? I'm like, well, if you suck there, you'll suck here. You know, it's up to you. You know, if you're amazing there, you'll be amazing here, and if you're a compass, you'll probably be more amazing, because, you know, but that's a separate conversation. But I mean, I think it has to start with what are you trying to accomplish and what's your value, and being confident about that and not having the team be a crutch.
The team is not a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. It's not a quick fix. Thank you. How many of you would be looking for good team members? Anybody? Raise your hands high. Another question. You got to come down here if you want to ask a question. Your name?
My name's Justin Rutowski, and my dad, Craig, has been in power coaching for a while now. So I'm a new agent, just started 2 months ago. My question is, my dad has been doing this for probably longer than anybody sitting here, and he has a lot of clients. So probably sold over 700 houses, and he's probably never reached out to those people in those years. So my question is, if we're going to start calling all them, or if I'm going to get on my phone and start calling all my friends that I've got maybe 3,000 contacts on my phone, how do I start the conversation authentically? What do I say? Do I send a text message? Do I send a Facebook message? How do I do it without saying, hey, buy a house for me? Or, hey, you know, I just want to, I want to be real. I want to be authentic and create relationships with these people that I've already had relationships with.
What are you afraid of when you pick up that phone?
I'm not afraid of anything.
You sure?
I'm sure.
All right, great. Anyone want to? Mark, go ahead.
I'd love to chime in on that, because what do you do for a living?
I'm playing on Sunday, actually. I know it's your birthday, so playing down on the beach in Huntington Beach.
But you said you're a new agent.
I'm a realtor.
You're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
That's what you do for a living. That's what everyone needs to know. I'm a real estate agent. Embrace it. You're a real estate agent. That's what my personal experience is. I was a mortgage broker for a long time. When I decided to sell real estate, it was, I'm going to sell real estate. And that was it. I embraced it. I let the people know that that's what I'm doing. By the way, I have a friend who wants to sell a house, or I have this. I'd love to meet them. Embrace it. You're a realtor.
But do I say, hey, I'm a realtor, I would love to talk to you, or do I say, hey, how are you doing? And then bring it up later. That's kind of...
Yeah. Just say, I wanted to call you up to let you know I'm a realtor now. I'm still playing on Sundays in Huntington Beach, but I'm a realtor now. Just in case you're bored on Sunday, come by the bar and I'll be there. But, you know, that's a reason to call them. Hey, I'm a realtor now. I'm so excited. How's it going? You know, my parents were going to sell their house. Just saying. Right, Karen?
I'd say it doesn't matter what you say or how you do it. Don't think about that.
Pick up the phone.
Your dad sounds like he's got a gold mine of database that no one's touched. What the fuck are you waiting for? Text, email, call, it doesn't matter. Say your name. That's it. You know, speak English or whatever language. That's it. Don't think about after 100 calls, you'll come up with whatever's comfortable that you figure out as you go what to say. It doesn't matter.
I was going to say, I mean, since your dad's been in the business, you can say, I'm joining the family business. You know, sorry he hasn't connected with you in the past 30 years, right? But I'm here to pick back up.
I'm going to do it differently.
Is there anything I could do for you? Let's meet for a coffee. I'd love to introduce myself in person.
Next.
Hi, I'm Damon Kronsberg, co-banker. Before I ask my very mundane
You're not mad at me anymore?
Never happened.
Okay.
I don't know. First of all, thank you everyone on the panel for sharing all of your great and very diverse work ethic and your humanity too. I appreciate that. So the mundane question is for anyone that wants to answer, does anyone have either a particular method or a website that they use to get phone numbers and emails for people in their farm or anyone else? Method or
Anyone
website?
of you using a service to hunt down phone numbers for people in your database or in your geographic farm? Spokio, anyone else? There are a couple services. Send me an email. I'll get a hold of that. Anyone else have one more? Time for one more. Anyone? Come on down. The next superstar in real estate, right?
Let's see. Leanne Rogan with Compass. My question is, let's say you're going out in a social setting. I think David, quite a few of you, and you have a conversation and you then organically weave in that you're in real estate. How do you keep that meaningful connection where you can follow up? How do you engage them to give you contact information? Or otherwise you may never see them again.
Well, you won't, sorry. You're only going to want their contact information if they're doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more focusing. It's focusing on, like, you can bring it up into the conversation in a variety of ways, but then it's getting information from them. Like, do they have a need? If they don't, who cares? Next. Like, just you only want to be able to contact someone if they need. You know, like, I don't know.
If they don't
to me,
have
it's
a
about
need
determining.
now, but they get a need in 3 months.
Hold on. How many of you aggressively pursue getting people's contact information regardless of whether they have a need today or tomorrow?
Who cares?
How do you... Wait. Let me just take a wild guess. You asked for it.
Yeah. And then I send an email the next day. Hey, it was great having dinner with you. It was great meeting you last night. And then every now and then, again, like it'll pop in my mind. I haven't talked to Steve in a while. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
And then I send a PDF of him and I of a listing presentation, just a generic one, and just say, this is about us. You know, just one, oh, great, you know. I love that Lauren does her thing. She's now, we're like, whenever, you know. It's like Contact City. You just never know. I mean, that's what we're doing now. We're in financial business 27 years. I'm going back to people now. Real estate? Sure.
Look, also, it's the beauty of social media. I mean, you can reach somebody. Almost everybody's got a social media account. It would be sort of stalkerish if you didn't connect with them in a social setting and then you ping them directly. But if you connect with someone and you didn't get their info, because a lot of people aren't giving out cards anymore, I mean, you can find them. You can Google them. You can find them on Facebook or whatever.
You also started off the question by saying that you were in a social situation. And I always try to find out, you know, what they're into, you know, and sort of build the relationship on that. Like, I don't know, I've met Blair a couple times over the years, but, and forgive me, this is stalkery, but like, I know that he's into racing Porsches, for example. I know that because he's put that out there. And in the last 2 years, I've become, some of my clients are very into cars, and it's dripped on me. So I will be reaching out to you to talk to you about racing Porsches because that's something he's into, and I'm interested in it as well. So what that will lead into, maybe down the road we might do some referrals together, maybe not, but we're bonding over something that's, you know, kind of beyond all this, and those are really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it is as a follow-up to David, on the car racing end, I have converted a lot of business out of guys that I know that drive expensive cars and are into racing, and I take them to the track and hang out with them and help them drive a little bit better, hopefully. And then, you know, I've sold, you know, an $8 million house here, $6 million house here for guys that have the same kind of passion in automobiles that I do. So it's you put them in a social setting, and they'll just soften up. You know, they'll like you, you know, whether it be golf or whatever you do, you know, you can get a tremendous amount of business that way. And one of my business partners golfs a ton and is really good and gets a ton of business off the golf course.
Your question get answered?
Absolutely.
I think also there may be a guilt associated with asking people for the ask, so to say, or letting them know what you do, that you're a professional. And I disagree, especially I'm sure you disagree, is if someone does something interesting and you can work with them and you know somebody who knows them, so it's a warm contact, I think they respect the fact that you're saying, hey, I want to work with you, or somebody you know, and I would like to work with you. I mean, it's nothing, there's nothing disrespectful about wanting to work with somebody.
Beautiful. Thank you. Panel, thank you very much.
How long are you in town for?
So I want to thank everyone for being here today. If you're interested in the Chris Voss course or coaching, I'll be here. Thank you very much. Have a great day.